FPL Differential XI is a series where I pick a team of 11 lowly owned players who I predict to score the most points for the upcoming game week, to assist you in gaining rank over other fantasy managers. There's just 3 rules. The squad must be worth a maximum of 82.5 million. Each player must be owned by less than 10% of FPL managers, and I'm only allowed to pick up to 3 players from a single team. A silhouette of each player I've selected is already on the pitch, so feel free to play along by seeing how many of the 11 you can correctly guess. Kicking off the team in goal this week, I've decided on Mark Flekken. After Raya's departure to Arsenal, we can now be almost certain that Flekken is nailed as Brentford's number 1. The Bees' opponent this week, Bournemouth, have gotten off to a pretty uninspiring start this season, with 1 point from a possible 9 and only scoring 2 goals in the process. Despite conceding last week against Crystal Palace, Flekken still managed to score 4 FPL points after making 4 saves and receiving a bonus point, and I can see a similar outcome ensuing against Bournemouth at the weekend. Destiny U Doggy went down off the ball at around the 80th minute mark against Bournemouth, so I would definitely suggest holding off before making an early transfer on him. Having said that, if he is ready to play, he's a standout defender to select for this upcoming fixture against Burnley. Udogi provided the assist for Kulusevski's goal at the weekend, and at times during that game he was finding himself in and around Bournemouth's penalty area. He's playing ridiculously advanced on the pitch for a defender, as the heat map shows, and no doubt he'll pick up more attacking returns across the campaign. Man City just about managed to get over the line against Sheffield United last week, with a 90th minute strike from Rodrigo following the Blades' late equaliser. Although they failed to keep a clean sheet, you would expect City to dominate at home in this upcoming fixture versus Fulham, and due to the likelihood of him starting, Ruben Dias is probably the pick to go for from their back line. Of course, when it comes to Pep Roulette, there's always a chance of surprise benchings, but at this moment in time I can't see too many other defensive options under 10% owned who I'd select in front of Dias. In the absence of Reece James, Malo Gusto looks to be a ridiculous option in FPL, playing a wing-back role for Chelsea costing a budget 4.1 million. Although Pochettino's Chelsea look far from the finished product, they are showing signs of improvement, especially with their performances against Liverpool and Luton, where they offered both offensive threat and defensive stability. Gusto provided 2 assists last week for Sterling, and there's a real possibility we see more of this moving forwards. Sterling loves to cut in from the right side, so both feeding the ball into him and making overlapping runs on the outside could benefit Gusto from an FPL perspective. One player who I'm seriously considering bringing into my own FPL team this week is James Ward-Prowse versus Luton. In his first 2 matches for West Ham, Ward-Prowse has returned 1 goal and 2 assists, and he looks to be the perfect replacement for Declan Rice. We already know he's going to be a set-piece maestro, taking all corners, free kicks and penalties, but one thing that really impressed me in the Brighton game was him arriving late in the box to tap the ball into the net at the end of a counter-attack. So with that, we can see that Moyes isn't just looking to utilise him as a defensive midfield player. Fair play to those FPL managers who decided to take a punt on Raheem Sterling for Chelsea's ridiculous fixture run, as they were rewarded with 19 points following Sterling's 2 goals and 1 assist against Luton. This week Chelsea face arguably a tougher opponent in Nottingham Forest. However, you'd still expect the Blues to be big favourites and probably score at least a couple of goals. Whilst Chelsea's forward line looks far from free-flowing, they are looking threatening at times, and Sterling has looked fantastic in his last 2 matches against West Ham and Luton. I don't think it will be long before his ownership rises above 10%. Another player who's likely to see a decent rise in ownership across the coming week is Moussa Diaby, who returned a goal, an assist and 12 FPL points against Burnley. I honestly think Diaby offers fantastic value at 6.6 million. He's playing up front alongside Watkins, and at times presenting as Villa's most advanced player on the pitch. On paper, you might see this Anfield fixture as one we shouldn't be targeting, but I can see Villa's front 2 getting plenty of chances via through balls and counter-attacks. Liverpool might apply plenty of pressure, but I can see them leaving plenty of gaps for Villa's forward players to exploit. With 2 goals and 1 assist in his opening 3 matches, Jarrod Bowen has got off to a great start in the 23-24 campaign, and so too have West Ham, who sat top of the table during a period of the weekend. The Hammers have netted 7 times already this season, while Luton have conceded 7 times in just 2 games, so this looks to be the fixture to target this week in FPL, especially if you're looking to take a chance on a differential or 2 to gain rank. You know what you're getting with Bowen, pretty much guaranteed to play 90 minutes and always offers goal threat. I can definitely see him picking up an attacking return on Friday night. At just 1.4% selected, Kulusevski is a great differential if you wanted to go for a bit of an out there pick in Gameweek 4. Burnley have just conceded 3 goals back to back at Turf Moor, firstly against Man City and then much more recently versus Villa at the weekend. Kulusevski has always been an exciting player to own in FPL. The main issue for him has always been uncertainty of starts and limited minutes. However, he started all 3 matches under Postecoglou and played 90, 87 and 90 minutes. With the recent departure of Harry Kane, the likelihood is that the goals will be shared amongst Tottenham's forward players, so it's definitely a lottery of who will end up returning. It was surprising to see Alvarez not return against Sheffield United, and to be honest, Man City didn't look up to their usual selves. However, Alvarez did have a number of shots in that game and put up an XG of 0.79, so he was perhaps unfortunate not to find the back of the net. This week, City are at home to the side who have the highest expected goals against in the Premier League in Fulham, so this might be the first time this season we see them put 4 or 5 goals past their opposition. Although City do have a few absentees, players are returning from injury, and Jeremy Doku has just joined the club, so that's something to keep an eye on when going for Alvarez. The final spot in the differential 11 could have gone to a number of forwards. I was originally considering Mikel Antonio, but I didn't fancy the West Ham triple up, so instead I've decided to go for Odsonne Edouard. Although they've only scored twice so far this season, Palace have been relatively unlucky. They dominated their opening match against Luton with 8 shots on target, and more recently they had 5 shots on target away at Brentford. After starting 3-3, Edouard looks to be Roy Hodgson's favourite for the number 9 role, and I can definitely see Palace creating a ton of chances at home to Wolves this weekend. A massive congrats to this week's King of the Channel for correctly predicting the score of last week's differential 11. If you want to win a channel shout out in the next video and a place on the leaderboard, correctly predict the FPL points total of today's differential 11 team. Details will be down below in the pinned comment. As always guys, thank you so much for watching, enjoy the rest of your day and best of luck for the upcoming game week.